Then, okay, so state liability is a remedy which was introduced for not having horizontal direct effect for directives. Okay, that's how it started. Now from this word itself, you can understand it's going to talk about state being liable. Okay, so we have to understand for what that we could make the state liable. Now think of the horizontal direct effect concept. Okay? Now under horizontal direct effect, if we are going to apply the horizontal direct effect for a directive, okay? So can you remember those examples that I gave, like doctor's salary or something, no, which I gave? Okay? So imagine that a the directive says the minimum salary for a doctor must be £500 per week or something like that. Then, but then it comes from a directive. So we'll say that we have Bob, who is a doctor who works for a private hospital. Okay, and that private hospital in Italy, he is not paid that amount. He is only paid £300 per week. But now he knows that according to the directive, he should be paid £500 per week. So now he wants to sue the employer. So he is suing the private hospital. So if he sues the private hospital, he in order to protect his rights under direct effect concept, he has to rely on the EU law in the national court. So that means he is going to rely on that EU directive in the Italian courts. Can he do it? Can he rely on the EU directive in the Italian court against his employer, who is a private body?
Yes.
How come?
No, can't. Because directive එක අපි කියන්නේ state එකට කරන්න කියලානේ private මනුස්සයෙක්ට කියන එකක් නෙමෙයිනේ.
Okay.
So like if the state doesn't do it, ඒතකොට private individual ට කරන්න කොහොමද මේකක් නැහැ. So you can't like keep that individual liable. State එකේ නේද?
Okay. So now that's the horizontal direct effect. So the ones who said yes, they have not understood the concept of horizontal direct effect. Okay. Now under horizontal direct effect means using the EU law against the private individual. Okay. Now here the concept of or the features of a directive means directive is a set of laws developed from EU law which is directing the national government to achieve a target. Okay. That directive will not come into force up until it is nationally implemented. So until the Italian government has nationally implemented the directive, that directive will not be applying on the Italians. Okay, Italian citizens will not be subjected to that directive.
So Ms. Have the scenario said that the Italian government has already adopted the directive, then he can take actions.
Then it is part of the national law, because then that means it has they have implemented a national law in the national territory. So it's a way of violating the national law. Okay. So here the EU law says that he should be paid £500, but he is not paid because it's not there in the law of that territory. So that a private employer is not liable under this directive. Clear? Okay. So when this doctor wants to protect his rights, he will not be able to use the doctrine of direct effect against the private employer, because directives are not having horizontal direct effect. Clear? Okay. Now he is suffering a loss. So he can't protect his rights even though the doctrine of direct effect is there. Okay. He is suffering a loss. Now why is he suffering the loss? Why is he suffering this loss? So the directive has not been nationally implemented. That is why he is suffering a loss. So then who is at fault? State. State is the one who is responsible to implement the directive, but the state has not done it. Because of that, and an innocent party is suffering a loss. Clear? So for this particular breach, the ECJ stated, so this individual does not have any remedy, no horizontal direct effect, but there must be some method of protecting his rights. So it could be state being liable to cover the loss.
Isn't it irrational for us to expect the state to just like rectify laws without having like a prior need arising?
No, because EU law is supreme. No? So EU law is supreme, so you have to agree with the EU law. You can't say that is not needed or anything, because when it comes to EU law is supreme, it's like the EU law will be dealing with the common market concepts. So whatever the laws which are necessary for the better functioning of the common market will be implemented by EU. So you can't say that there's no need, because EU has prioritized the need, and that's why the law is implemented. Clear? Am I clear there? Okay. Now see whether